Tonight on KGW News, pro-Palestinian protesters holding their ground.
You know, a lot of Americans just want to ignore it, just like most Americans wanted to avoid the Vietnam War.
A former Portland State student shares how this moment compares to campus demonstrations decades ago. Plus, how a move by the White House to reclassify marijuana could help local businesses.
It doesn't solve all of our problems. It's a great start.
And later, free meals without a side of stigma.
That can change both the way you think about yourself and the way you kind of conduct yourself accordingly.
The KGW Solutions Project looks at how a program is improving student behavior, starting in the cafeteria. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. We begin with what appears to be a stalemate at Portland State University, where demonstrators calling for a ceasefire in Gaza are occupying the school's library for a second night. The protests, which school leaders say turned to a break-in, has now led them to close campus for another day on Wednesday. Alma McCarty has the latest.
Tuesday night, an unknown number of students and outside protesters remain barricaded inside of the PSU library. Now, here on the campus grounds, things remain relatively calm despite a large number of people actually gathered on the steps outside of the library. Now, back inside the library, the protesters say they will not stand down until their demands are met. With classes canceled Tuesday, much of the Portland State campus kept quiet, but for activities centered around the library, occupied by pro-Palestinian protesters.
They're sending a good message out, and I hope that it's received.
Among demands from students at PSU, they want the university to cut ties with Boeing, who they say supplies weapons to Israel. That, along with a broader call for an end to the violence in Gaza. Protests of the Israel-Hamas war.
It's a situation that had been simmering for decades, and it exploded last year.
Reminding some, like Doug Weiskopf, of past student movements. On Monday, he visited the UCLA campus near his California home in hopes of sharing his unique anti-war perspective from 1970.
On May 4th, the Kent State students were shot, 13 wounded, 4 dead. And that's when everything exploded on 450 campuses in America. And we joined with the national student strike and shut down Portland State for a week.
Then came the clash between the Portland Tactical Police Squad and peaceful student activists protesting the Vietnam War. And up to this point, Weiskopf says their tactics were clear.
He told the kids, don't insult people as they walk by, and if they argue with you, just stay cool. Don't do any spray painting or breaking windows, and everybody's going to just, when this is over, we want to be able to say that we conducted ourselves with honor and decency.
Their actions commemorated 2 years back, and only one block from the current demonstration. Weiskopf fears some here and on other campuses may be smothering their message amid reports of vandalism and anti-Semitism.
That's what it takes, is organization and discipline, and a commitment to principled protest. Principled nonviolent protest.
So far, the situation at the library has remained nonviolent, although we have heard that some Jewish students have felt harassed or intimidated by these demonstrations. Now, the university president, Ann Cudd, has said once again that she would like the protesters inside of the library to vacate and the students to voluntarily leave, although we are unclear if and when Portland police plan to enter the library and remove the protesters. In Southwest Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
And earlier today, investigative reporter Kyle Eboshi got a glimpse inside the library. On KGW News at 6, he described some of what he saw.
Late this afternoon, a PSU faculty member escorted me through the library, at least the entryway. I wasn't able to go much beyond that. It was interesting inside and kind of looking back out at how they'd fortified the exterior of the entrance there, barricading it with chain link fencing and also wooden pallets to prevent folks from coming in. Also inside there's makeshift centers for like food, medicine and supplies all set out. There is some graffiti. We weren't able to really evaluate potential damage beyond the graffiti that we saw on the walls because they limited access and where I was able to go.
Kyla Boshi there. Protests like this, by the way, playing out on college campuses around the country, including at Columbia University in New York, my alma mater. Tonight, the university asked the NYPD to respond, where police cleared a classroom building that had been taken over. Nearly 100 people were arrested, including 40 on the first floor of Hamilton Hall. Video shows law enforcement entering from a second floor window to get inside using a truck as a makeshift ramp. New York police say no injuries there. Columbia's president has now asked the NYPD to remain on campus through at least May 17th. That is after graduation. A tent encampment on one of the university's lawns has also been cleared. Stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the college campus protests, including here at Portland State. Updates as we get them on air, plus anytime on KGW.com and on the KGW app. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, one man is dead after a standoff at a Happy Valley home where sheriff's deputies say a man was holding his wife and children hostage. This all started just before 8:30 Monday night on Southeast Westview Court. For hours, police tried to get the man to come outside. Police say they went into the house when he threatened his family. That is when officers shot and killed him. The two officers involved are now on paid administrative leave. An Oregon City couple faces felony charges connected to the death of their baby. Blair and Taylor Edwards are accused of failing to arrange medical care for their 2-day-old boy who died at their home last June. Court records allege their baby stopped eating and was suffering from severe jaundice. But instead of getting medical treatment, the couple relied on friends and relatives to pray. The DA's office says the parents are members of the Followers of Christ Church. Several other members have faced charges for the deaths of their children. And Pacific Corp is now facing a $30 billion lawsuit brought by 1,000 Oregonians impacted by the 2020 Labor Day wildfires. The plaintiffs are seeking up to $5 million each for economic damages and up to $25 million for other impacts like emotional distress. This comes after a jury found Pacific Corp liable for starting some of the Labor Day fires by failing to shut down its power lines. The company said it'll appeal that verdict, but so far has paid out $750 million to wildfire victims. To major news tonight around marijuana, and while it has long been legal in Oregon and Washington, now a major federal change could reclassify the drug nationwide. Catherine Cook is in the newsroom with a look at the potential impact here. Catherine?
David, right now marijuana is a Schedule I drug, right up there with heroin. The DEA wants to reclassify it as Schedule III controlled substance like ketamine. For Oregon, that could mean big changes in how the state's existing marijuana businesses function, especially when it comes to money. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration is planning to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. This, according to the Associated Press, which confirmed the news with several federal officials Tuesday. It's a major shift in American drug policy, one Congressman Earl Blumenauer considers a victory in the war against the war on drugs.
Personally, after having helped lead this movement for more than 50 years, today is a highlight.
Blumenauer admits he doesn't know exactly when the change would happen, though he hopes soon. He says right now businesses are bound by federal restrictions around banking access and taxes. They can't write off expenses such as payroll, marketing, or rent, leaving many businesses upside down.
By allowing them to fully deduct their business expenses, this is going to have a profound effect on the economics. It'll make it easier for them to be profitable.
We've been operating as if we were a regularly taxed business and just eating it.
Marissa Rodriguez is COO of Nimble, a wholesale cannabis dealer in Milwaukee. She had mixed emotions around Tuesday's news.
Yay and ugh. It doesn't solve all of our problems. It's a great start.
She thinks of those impacted by the justice system, arrested for simple marijuana possession over the years, something that's been legal in Oregon since 2014. In 2022, President Biden pardoned thousands of Americans convicted of simple marijuana possession under federal law. He pointed to racial disparities when it comes to laws around marijuana.
While white and black and brown people use marijuana at similar rates, Black and brown people are arrested, prosecuted, and convicted at disproportionately higher rates.
Rodriguez believes all of it has been pointing to broader federal changes like this one.
I know it's not a done deal, but I'm really hopeful.
And if and when the feds reclassify marijuana, Rodriguez says she and others will be focused on their next business move, exporting products out of state.
It's really important that we're ready for it and that Oregon is in a position to compete because we have the best weed.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Oh yeah, big changes there. Well, today is the final day to register to vote for the Oregon May primary. If you have not registered and declared a party or you want to change your party affiliation, you have until 11:59 tonight to do so at OregonVotes.gov. Be sure to join us Thursday night for the final debate, by the way, in the race for Multnomah County District Attorney. Is co-hosted by KGW and the Oregonian. I'll be co-moderating with Oregonian reporter and investigative journalist Noelle Crombie. That is live on Thursday evening at 6:30 right here on KGW. You're watching KGW News at 11, and straight ahead on this Tuesday night, the district that is expanding free school lunches and seeing some intriguing results. Plus, refusing to let his disease define him, the Oregon rower pushing and pulling his way all the way to Paris.
And we'll take you all the way up to Timberline Lodge right now. That's right, snow still flying up the lodge, and check this out. The last 2 days, 28 inches of new snow, and it's still falling. It is going to settle down tonight. We're going to dry out, but that doesn't mean it won't be a frosty morning. We'll talk about May showers.